You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family prepare to handle almost anything from a small event from a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. Well, the call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Just go to the Are You Ready show, search it right there in the search bar. You can get there live through the website, nickpiercemedia.com. I post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and on Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after our broadcast. So share your knowledge. And again, if you want to call, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. Now, I would like to start with prepping for your pets. We've talked a little bit about it in the past, but we have not really gone into detail with much of it. And that's what I want to focus on this episode. Now, not everything is a doomsday apocalypse. I mean, we're going to walk through the small emergency and work up to it, like I like to do during each broadcast. But whether you have your pet with you in a car for a short ride, a long trip, a weekend getaway, a long vacation, or even if you have to leave the home in an emergency, is your pet ready? And yes, there are some small emergencies. There's some major little emergencies that could happen any day for a short amount of time, or, of course, the doomsday apocalypse. But, first of all, I mean, if you're thinking of, we've talked about the bug-in plan. We've talked about the bug-out plan. What you would do for you and your family, and including your pets in this plan, is important. So, are you going to bug in, or are you going to bug out? What would you do if your cats or dogs make noise at the wrong time? How long can you, have spare food and water for them? Are they going to be more of a hindrance or a good help to you? Are they trained? So I know that sometimes these are hard choices to make. And these are tough questions to answer. In a long-term fit hits the shan situation, just keep it clean for the radio, everything changes. Think about it. If you could, if you could never go to a store again, what would you need to take care of and transition your pets off-grid? And also think about, what if there's like a fire and you need to evacuate your home in a hurry? That's your bug out. Maybe you need to spend some time in a hotel. That's great. Or at a family member's house. Are your pets compatible with other animals in that case? Do you have places where you can go that are pet-friendly? And in the major catastrophic event, and all of a sudden we're going off-grid, are your pets able to do it? So let's walk through this a little bit. If you have to evacuate, do your pets go with you? I mean, you simply can't leave your pets behind. I mean, if you have to flee in a crisis, you take them with you. Therefore, you need a plan, and you must plan way in advance. This is not something you can just think of, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And here we go, let's do it. I mean, there are items along with certain information that you should have for every pet. And we spoke about a little emergency kit for your pet. And when we talked about the first aid kit, we talked about bug-out bags. We talked about some food for them and stuff. But I want to walk you through a series of steps here. I want to go through a list and just throw these ideas out there. And if you have anything to add, feel free to call in or send a message or whatever. I'd love to hear it. I'm sure it'll help our listeners too. Hey, it may even help me. So we want to start with your pet's emergency kit. If you don't have one already, now I put a video on either YouTube or Facebook. You can get to it through Facebook about your bug-out bag for your pet. So if you want, take a look at that after this episode. Don't stop listening to me now just to watch it. Wait till later. So let's start with locate some information about your pet. Maybe document different things, certain things that they need. I have a little what's called kitty passport for Magic the Prepper Cat. Locate, and this is pretty much just like his, vet records, stuff like that. Not all the document, not the entire folder, not the entire medical folder. I mean, I have that somewhere, but just it's a little pet passport. Some vets will have them, and keep some information about your pet there with a little picture or something like that. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, locate and record pet-friendly hotels in your area, in different surrounding areas, maybe in bug-out places, disaster relief agencies. Do this before something happens. Keep the contact numbers of your veterinarian, of your pet, pet-friendly hotels, local animal hospitals, shelters, any of the, pet hotels. Even the Red Cross and other agencies have provided mobile shelters if needed, during major disasters, during a crisis. Those have been set up. Very important. Many local disaster relief shelters for humans do not allow pets. That's going to be a problem. A shelter that's set up, maybe it's in a school or a gym or something, and especially if you have your cat and a dog here and no one gets along, and the birds and everything. I mean, it's like Noah's Ark, and they're not at peace with each other. Animals actually don't get along with other species for a reason. I mean, they're territorial. Smaller animals, they're food, depending on the pet that you have. So think about what you would have to do in a situation like that if you're in a shelter. Maybe now, not relying on emergency shelters, Red Cross, stuff like that is important. I mean, that's something you prepare for. It's something that I do with Magic. We know how to go out in the woods. He knows how to behave. He knows how to stay with me, leash or no leash, and we practice. Those are the big birds. You don't want to play with those birds. They will swoop down. This is where you take naps. Here's your tent. This is that. We go through all that. Training your pets, and we'll get into that. I mean, there's so much to cover on this topic. Such little time together. But I'll get into that. I just want to go in order now. Before you end up in a relative's home or, one of those crisis centers, now some of them may be willing to take pets. And they have certain accommodations for your pets. But animals, like humans, can become stressed during a crisis. And they're not always looking out for dangers. It's important that they're aware of any dangers. And that your new and also familiar with your new location that you may be going to. And you want to pay attention to your pets. Do not get into trouble. You don't want that trouble. You don't want them to eat someone's bird, and then that person doesn't like you. Or it's stressful enough during a crisis. My thing is, either if you don't have a place to go, relative's house that's pet friendly or is able to take in the pet with you, be ready to just go off grid. A tent in the woods. I'm ready. I'm ready to go anytime, anywhere, whatever has to be done. And now Magic, he carries his own little bug out bag with him, and definitely check out that video. People are like, how does a cat wear a bug out bag? I mean, dogs have special harnesses you can wear, fit them with, but a cat, yeah, trust me, it works. Watch that video. It's on the Facebook page. Go to Are You Ready Radio on Facebook. Now, when you're starting to gather your pet's information, make sure that you're keeping a track. Are they up to date on their vaccines and shots? Do they have a supply of any medication they may need? Also, like flea and tick treatments, have some of those on hand. That's just kind of what you stock up, maybe in the pantry, or it's part of your prepper first aid kit, your first aid supplies. And of course, like any other medication, rotate it. You're going to need things like, the flea collars are good, I guess, but I use drops, and they have Frontline and stuff like that, different brands and all that. You can either get from your vet or at a store, a pet store, or something like that. I always use one that's good for not just fleas, but it does the fleas, ticks, the larvae. It also helps with fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and all that. So find a good multi-use, all-around something. Talk to your vet. They'll give you the best recommendations. Most of the time it's a product that they sell. But you'll find vets out there say, I don't sell it, but this would be what you get at a store. Follow some of their advice. And those the drops and stuff that you put on them, it does take about a week for it to really take effect. So just keep that in mind. It's something you want to do as the weather starts getting warmer if you have a pet that goes outside. Because putting it on when the fit hits the shan and you're out in the woods next day, it's not going to help them. It has to be on them. So again, that's something a week in advance that you need to think ahead to. If we have to leave, whatever, bang, that's in place. And you have their gear ready, their little stuff ready. Okay? So ensure your pet's up to date on vaccines, shots. You have the medicine. Always talk to your vet. See what kind of stuff you can get and what they recommend. Rabies shots are important. And shots, they do need to be like the boosters and all that. You have to get them done by a veterinarian, and all that. It's not something you can do on your own. So you're going to have certain things that you may not be able to do in the field. But if you have someone who's a veterinarian or vet assistant or something like that, that's part of your prepper community, part of your tribe that you're going to be bugging out with, or if a fit hits the shan situation occurs and you're bugging together, do you have someone that's able to take care of animals if you can't? And sometimes medications, they may be able to get stuff that you just can't get yourself. So try that. And I know that I guess you have to be state certified to do rabies vaccinations and all that. And most states they're required to have a tag or and stuff like that on the collar and stuff. I mean, mostly true for dogs and larger animals. Cats, they don't. They get a tag. Magic doesn't wear it. But it's important because what if your animal bites another animal or human? The rabies shots are, if they're not on record or you don't have proof that those shots were administered to your pet, they can take them from you. And, things like that. Sad to think about. So it's important that your animals are given the rabies shots by licensed veterinarians, that they have a tag, you have documentation and all that. Because that may be something that's required when you go to a shelter. So have record of that if you go to a pet-friendly shelter in a crisis situation. And there's other shots, too. I mean, there's vaccines. Some animals may need medications for different things. I know my caddy has diabetes, so that's, part of our preps, extra insulin and syringes for that. But even things like kennel cough and different canine things, parvo, I think that's spread by squirrels. Check with your vet for what your pet would need based on your plan. So if you're out in the woods a lot, figure out what your vet would recommend based on that environment. It's not a bad thing to be too cautious. It's better to be prepared or have the shots and not need them than to need them and your pet does not have them. It's almost the same thing like our gear. Better to have and not to need than to need and not have. And it goes as far as your pets too. Flea and tick medications, like I said, you can get those monthly things, 30 days. Some animals require allergy medications, so keep that in mind. Antibiotics for bacterial infections. Another thing that I keep is dewormer, a multi-purpose worm medication for heartworm, roundworms, all the worm stuff, tapeworm stuff like that. You never know what your pet's going to pick up if they're out in the the woods, a survival situation. When stuff happens, you really don't know what your environment is going to be. So you want to make sure that they're as protected and as safe as you are. So it's always better to have some stuff. Now, most of this stuff you can get over the counter. You can get it over the counter in pet stores, online through reputable pharmacies and stuff, heartworms and ear mite drops and all that. Most medications, unless it's prescription, you can get even from an online vet. Right in within the U.S., we're not talking overseas China. You don't know what you're getting. You're going to get a legitimate product. Keep your pets indoors. Keeps them from getting bitten by mosquitoes. But if you have to evacuate with your pet, at least you gave them the treatments. They have their vaccines and all that. And you're fine. They're safer than if they did not. Now, food. Food is a very important thing to a pet, too. Pets normally don't eat people food. Yes, they will. They will if they want to, if they need to, yeah. But they will also hunt if they have to. Not everything they're going to get their claws and fangs on is going to be healthy for them. So you want to make sure that you have food that your pet will eat. Whether it's a bunch of dry food, canned food, stuff like that. No different than when you prep and stockpile for yourself in your pantry, you do it for your pet as well. I mean, maybe not as much because, of course, you consume more than your pet would consume if it's a smaller, like cat or a smaller dog or a fish. But, and even the bird. So, look at your food stock. Look at your pantry. They're not really going to like MREs. You may be able to eat MREs. I know, me, I have not had a full can of tuna to myself in almost 11 years now. He's so cute. But anytime I open up a can of tuna, that's the one thing he will eat. Pets will eat stuff. It's not necessarily good for their diet to eat a bunch of canned tuna. But they make pet food for your cats and your dogs and all that has that nutrition, that has that stuff for the diet that they need. And some pets do have a special diet. So you got to take that into consideration. If they're not able to digest regular food and they have a special diet that they're on, make sure you have plenty of that, because they're not going to survive off what most animals would normally be able to eat. And, I mean, depending on their diet, sometimes they can't digest stuff. They get backed up. They'll have diarrhea. They're going to dehydrate or they're going to blow up. I mean, that's one only possibility. Either not going to be able to eat or they're going to lose everything that they ingest. So if you have a pet with a special diet, make sure that you buy it. And you can buy stuff in bulk. You can go online. If you have the room, you can buy bulk. And you can seal it in those vacuum bags. A lot of dry food. You can separate it up into servings for each day, or separate it and split a whole day worth in individually vacuum, packed plastic sections. And this way, if you're on the go, you only open up a little bit that you eat. Open up a little bit, the next stop, you eat. Think lightweight, too. There's a video that I posted on Facebook, again, for your pet, when it comes to prepping for your pet, and that's how to make MREs for your, in this case, it's a kitty. It's for Magic, the Prepper Cat. It'll also work for dogs, probably birds. Fish, they're pretty easy. I mean, fish are kind of hard to bug out with. I mean, you put them in a Chinese takeout container with some water, and they sit in the water bottle thing and travel with you. Put a pinch of food in there. They're pretty easy. After a while, they become bait. But, yeah, fish. But, if you're mammals, I guess, you can make MREs for them. And, also look at the type of pet. Some pets are high maintenance, like a tropical fish tank, now that I think about it. Exotic reptiles. I mean, what would you do? Sometimes you think about it. It's like, oh my God, if there ever was a fire, it's like that scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Pee-wee Herman's movie, where he's running in and out of the pet store with the animals and stuff. Yeah, how would that work? Incorporate some of this in your plan. Do you have a plan for the exotic reptiles that may need power for heat stones and heat lamps? And, if you live in a cold environment, all of a sudden you need to get out quick, and there's no power for days. How are you going to help this survive? Do you have backup power for it? Do you have a way to keep it warm? Do you have a way to keep its environment comfortable and it's not going to die? Humans typically need 1 gallon of water a day. Okay? Your pet is not going to need that much. But you should still plan to have a gallon a day for each pet, because in a situation, if they're traveling a lot, very active or something like that, you need to be able to clean out their bowls in between feedings. So I mean, you're going to need just as much water for your pet as you would for yourself. So take that into consideration when you're, your pet. If you have a life straw, you can stick that in there and suck on, draw water through it. Your pet can't do that. Do you have a way to get water, filter it if you're gathering water, if you don't carry a bunch on you, for your pet? Do they have a small bowl to drink out of? Because they're not going to sip out of a canteen. I mean, yeah, you could pour a water bottle in your pet's mouth and it'll sit there licking it. Yeah, of course it will. I mean, if it's thirsty enough, it will. I mean, if it's hungry enough, it'll probably eat you. But it's not natural for them. And pets can be very stressed in a situation, so you want some of those comforts. And it's funny, because when I posted the video about the bug-out bag and stuff like that, I got a couple chuckles. I mean, a couple people found some things kind of humorous that I had in there, because they were just like a little toy, or his little arcade token, a T-shirt, an old T-shirt of mine that he likes to, that he'll take turns sleeping on. Yeah, things like that, because those are little comfort things. And it's also something that you would leave behind that has your scent on it, stuff like that, and it works. Prepping and surviving is also a mental thing. It's not always about the physical endurance. Yes, you want to be conditioned. You want to be prepared. You want to have a plan. You will need your kit. You need your knowledge. You need your will to live. But it's also a psychological thing. And you don't want your pet to be, it's traumatizing enough if something happens. And they don't understand the way you do. Training them, working with them, and finding those comforts that'll keep them, that'll soothe them, will go a long way, and your pet will be able to adapt and survive with you. Oh, well, that music means that it's time to pay some bills. We got to take a quick time out. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. Stick around. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture-Wise! Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper.
And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around during that brief interruption there, but we had to pay some bills. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio?
And this episode, we are talking about preparing for our pets and our plan and the bug out bags and pretty much what to do in a bug out or bug in situation. So far, everything seems pretty basic. You know, we need some food, we need some water, and, medication, stuff like that. But moving on, if you missed anything earlier in the broadcast, or if you're just tuning in, you can listen to our archives. Just go to facebook.com/areyoureadyradio. Within 24 hours of the broadcast, you will see a copy of the show notes, a link to listen to the broadcast over and over and over and over again. And not just if you missed this week's episode. Also, for any of the past episodes that we've done. There's also great exclusive content there to help you and your family prepare. So, moving on. Eating in water bowls. Yes. You know, like I was saying kind of before the break, pets are not used to just drinking out of a water straw or, foraging for water through vines and all that. They're used to eating from a water bowl. So make sure you have something to put water in, even if it's a matter of just opening up, the bottom of a water bottle. Filling that up, just something for them to drink out of. A lot of times things go overlooked when it comes to our pets. They're not as capable as we as humans are. They don't adapt that easily to things outside of what they normally know. So definitely some place to put fresh water, because you don't want them drinking bad water. Now, eating, as far as their food bowls. A lot of things can be, pets will pretty much eat off anything, but you want to make sure that they have something up off the ground where they're not going to get parasites or any kind of bugs or anything like that, or any disease from anything that may be on the ground. It may not be as clean as the floor in your home. And anything that's contaminated the site, of course, you don't want them to eat any of that. Now, in addition to eating in food bowls, maybe a blanket, chew toys, leashes, collars, a harness, sometimes even some bath towels. Some animals need certain clothing. I know certain breeds of dogs and stuff, in certain temperatures, they need to stay warm. That should all be in the kit. Assess what your pets need and plan accordingly. And you can pack all this into maybe their travel cage if you have a carrier for them. And this way it's all in one spot ready to go. Put it in a bag, put it in their carrier. If you have one. Not everybody has a carrier. But sometimes maybe you may need one. When things get really chaotic and you want your animals to stay under control, the last thing you want to do is, while you are trying to bug out and while you are trying to protect you and your family, is to have an incident with your animal. Your pet, I should say. So pack all that in a travel carrier. Keep it in a spot that you're able to get to easily in an emergency. And it's also a safer way of transporting your pet as well. They're more protected. They're, not as exposed to elements. Keeps them contained. Cats, they will need their litter box. And you also need to have a scoop and maybe some bags and stuff to put it in, and any used litter. Now, Magic, my cat, when we would do training, when we go out camping and in the woods and stuff, I would bring sand, or if there's a beach nearby, I would just grab sand from that and bring it over into the campsite. And we would only do this for a day, overnight, or something like that. But he would get used to the fact that, okay, this is not a litter box, this is where I go. And it would be somewhere off by the edge of the campsite.
And then we'd be able just to scoop that up and bury it off under the dirt, off the trail, or outside of the site somewhere. And they also make bags, that you can get just like dog bags. Have some bags, shopping bag will work too, the plastic shopping bags, so keep that in mind. But yeah, cats will need a litter box, and make sure that you have stuff to accommodate that. Cats will hold it for a really, really, really long time. And of course, they can get an infection and get sick doing that if they don't have a place to go. And, sometimes people say, oh, well, if, the litter box is full, it'll just go anywhere in the home. Yeah, sometimes that's true if they have their litter box around. Your cat will eventually go anywhere. Make sure that they have a place to go that's designated for them. And that really comes down to just general sanitation. You would not sleep or sit where you go to the bathroom. And you don't want your cat to do that either, nor would you want to sit where your cat goes to the bathroom, or your dog for that matter. You would not pitch a tent next to a pile of bear poo. That's not where you do it. So, sanitation is a big thing when it comes to that. Make sure that you have a designated area and your pet knows where to go, how to use it. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to gathering up information that I thought of before the break, that I just want to get back to, is in your pet passport that I was talking about earlier on in the program, is in addition to a photo, also have like a description of your pets, and this way it's easier to communicate things like, people can jot stuff down. They can relay a message easier than just trying to sit there and think about it or look at the picture. Have a clear description of the pet, any identified markings, what they look like, approximate weight, how cute their whiskers are, whatever it is. That should all be in the kit as well, and this way others can help you search. Having a couple pictures in there just to hand out real quick, should you lose your pet. Let's see. What else? I'm just going through some of the comments that are coming in while I'm going through this. Pet accidents. Unfortunately. Yeah, pet accidents will happen. So you need to be prepared. Traveling and stuff, pack newspaper, like I said, those waste bags and stuff. Rubber gloves, those disposable gloves, paper towels, some bleach, soap. There's supplies for cleaning up any pet accidents. In addition to, just cleaning up after them, also some grooming supplies, like a brush, their nail clippers and all that. Animals will sharpen their own claws, more so cats than dogs. Cat, if you never know, sometimes they'll claw at things or something. That's normally a sign you got to trim their claws. Unless you've trained them to a point where they are able to be sharpened in the wild, they're used to it. And again, that's something that you need to work with your pet with. So that if you want them to have sharper claws in the wild to be able to, defend and stuff like that, and even hunt their own stuff, that you can make sure that they're comfortable with that. But if you need to trim them, you still can. So have some clippers, and also like a brush. If they have longer hair, and cats in particular, have a brush that you can groom them. It also helps check for things like fleas, ticks, and all that. So even a flea comb. And just something to be able to get down there and make sure that they don't have any insects on them that could be annoying, that you really don't want them to have. And, cleaning between baths. If you have a dog, of course, you need to bathe them. So having stuff to bathe them with is a good idea. Cleaning powders and sprays for, quick cleanup stuff when it comes to their coat. And, of course, things some may also require soap and water. There's different products on the market out there. So take a look at those and what is best for your situation. Certain cleaning pads, I heard, are also available. Good for, like poodles. They have those pads and stuff. I've seen some groomers use stuff like that, only because their hair is a certain way. And this has eyelets and their fleece can, get stained or something. And this way kind of, whatever it is about their fur or hair that's on them, that'll help. And let's see, paws. Yeah, clean their paws, especially if they're in a lot of muddy conditions. Sometimes it's not always easy for them to groom a lot of mud out if it's muddy or there's a lot of dirt. So being able to just even have like some type of paper towel or some type of cloth or something you can wet and make sure you get there. Keep in mind, though, what you put on your cats, though. Cats will groom themselves with their mouth. They use their tongue. So make sure that you're not putting any kinds of chemicals or anything like that on them that they can reach, because you don't want them to ingest stuff. Now, that goes back to the flea and tick stuff that I was talking about that I use, the drops, the little squirter that goes right on the back of the neck, right on their skin. It soaks in and it repels the fleas. It's done on the back of the neck because that's a place they really can't reach very well, and it's not something that they'll directly ingest. If anything, they may lick their paw, groom that area. When they go to lick their paw again, they'll hold off until they get, wipe it off and it dissipates. You really don't want them to ingest that. Well, a lot to talk about. And I also want to make sure I save time for your questions. Identification. When it comes to identification. And some of these questions that are coming in, I am answering as we go along. So I hope all this helps. Now, yes, with identification, pets and owners need identification. See, if you can identify that this is your pet and this pet belongs to you, and chips, those little microchips that can be in animals that you can get microchipped, that'll help identify who the animal belongs to if there's a way for that chip to be read, depending on the circumstances. So always make sure you have your identification, your pet's identification, maybe a picture of you and the pet together, because, of course, no one can look at the pet's driver's license and look at yours and say, yep, they're the same people. So, yeah, that's always something handy, picture of you and your pet together. And any other form of identification. See, it's important, even though, privacy is a big concern. Your pet should have tags attached if you ever are in a situation where you're going to be bugging out and you think that they could get loose or any kind of disaster. So it has information on them with contact information sometimes, and that'll help. In this way, if someone finds them and there's no chip and they end up at a shelter, you can have your pet identified. They know who it belongs to, and you'll be able to get it back a lot faster. 319-527-6208. Press 1 if you want to be on the air. And I hope that when it comes to identification, that microchipping, that helped you out. That was a great question. And moving on, again, 319-527-6208. And again, if you missed anything, feel free to check out our archives. Just go to facebook.com/RUReadyRadio. Now, so what does happen if a disaster strikes and you can't get home and you're away? Well, like I said earlier at the top of the show, not everything is a doomsday apocalypse. But if you're going out, maybe through, a small emergency or whatever, and even, major catastrophic event, if you're out on the road with your pet, like I said, even for a short trip, a long trip, a road trip, a weekend getaway, long vacation, if you leave your home in an emergency, is your pet ready? Or if you're away from home, is there someone, if you can't get home, is there someone there to look after your pet? Now, some of us have what we call get-home bags. When you look at the prepping and stuff, people have the get-home bags, the bug-out bags, the everyday carry, all that. Okay? If you're bringing your pet with you, you should also make a little get-home bag for them. Some food in a bag, kind of a small version of it, kind of like what you would have in your get-home bag. Think about what your pet would need to survive for a day or two. Should you be away from home longer than expected? Things may turn out to be a quick trip to the store. But, or maybe you're just driving, to the other side of the state and you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and you break down. Just like you would have a couple blankets for you, make sure that you have a couple blankets for your pet. I remember a funny story, though. Not funny. It was a good story. Where everything worked out, where someone was traveling with their cat in a car and they broke down. It was in the middle of winter. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get help. They were in backwoods, roads, wherever, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. And they actually managed to keep themselves warm, huddled in the car. Because it was so cold outside, but the cat and its owner were able to keep themselves warm and survive, I think, until the next day when someone finally drove by and was able to get them help. Now, of course, this story was back in the maybe early 90s, late 80s, somewhere around there, so cell phones weren't that common. Nowadays, of course, calling for help, if everything works right, you should be able to get through. You could be in a dead zone. Just keep that in mind. Will you have what your pet needs to get home when it's with you, even if it's just a short trip to the store? So, if your pet's home, which most of the times they would be, is there a plan in place if you can't make it home? So do you have a trusted friend or a neighbor or relative that lives nearby that can just look after your pet until you can make it back? And this is something like, if you end up with a delay and you're out of town longer than you think, and maybe you had a house sitter and all of a sudden they have to do something else, or someone goes back to school or something like that, do you have someone that you can count on in an emergency that's able to look after your pet if you can't make it home? And this is something you must have planned well ahead of time. And you have to make sure that the pet is familiar with the friend or neighbor. They need to be introduced to the pet. They need to get to know him over some time. Not every pet is fluffy and happy. Some pets, like dogs and even cats, can be aggressive and territorial if someone comes in. So if all of a sudden it's a random person that they don't know, that you say, hey, my spare key is over here, can you go in and just check on Rufus? Rufus may not like a stranger walking into the place that they do not know. Because to Rufus, that's their territory, and that person does not belong there. So make sure that your pet is familiar with that friend or neighbor. Introduce them. Make sure they know each other over a period of time. And also make sure they know, how to feed it. And you may think that, just putting some food down is no problem. Yeah, an animal when it's hungry will eat any food that you give it. But make sure that, maybe if they have medicine that they need to take, that they're familiar with the schedule. Make sure that they understand when to feed it, how often to feed it. And it goes back to if there's a special diet that your pet may be on. And there's clear instructions. Now, last week when I was talking about your prepper binder, your emergency plan, the playbook, as I call it, there's a section in there about my cat, Magic, and what he eats, how often he eats, what he does, his medicine, and, I have a recommendation. You may want to scoop the box every day at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, or between, depending on the week, what he eats. Probably at least by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. At least if you're going to do it once a day, 5 o'clock would be best. Because that's when he's got his naughties in the box that you don't want to leave laying around. So, knowing the feeding schedule. And if you have a dog, it has a schedule where it likes to, and it knows when it goes for a walk. It's not always just a random thing. Yes, your pets will let you know when they need a walk. But they also know when walk time is. And they tell you, because that's what they're used to all the time. Hey, you wake up in the morning, take the dog out for a walk. Come home from work, take the dog out for a walk. Before you go to bed, take the dog out for a walk. Sometimes more often than that. Because it also depends on its feeding schedule, too. And they should know where the animal's food is kept. They should know where the leash is, any harness that they may need. And it has to be someone trusted, too. Because, of course, like any caretaker, anybody that comes into your home, especially if you're not there, you need to trust them. They're going to have access to your home. You're not going to be around. They'll have access to your key. They'll have access to probably personal information you have laying around in every possession that you own. Which, of course, that's where safe comes in. But is it a trusted person that understands the pet? See, it's one thing. I was having a conversation the other day about something similar to this with someone. And they said, it's one thing just to get someone that can stop in and give, your animal some food when you're away. I said, yeah. But it's, if they're sick or they have a certain thing that they do or something like that, people that own dogs don't understand cats. People that have cats don't always understand dogs. Even though you may care about them, there's still something that you just don't understand when it comes to the relationship, the bond, the energy, the dynamic, or something that an owner of another type of pet has. And when it comes to giving medicine to an animal that's sick, some animals, some pets, they may need some medicine. Everything's fine. They're on their medicine. But there's some animals that could legitimately be really sick, older pets, and they're not in good shape. And just having someone come in, throw some food on the ground, make sure the water's full, shove some medicine in their mouth or in their food and leave. When you have someone that house sits or pet sits, they spend time, they play with your pet. They feed it. They'll sit there, they'll hang out with it, play toys and pet it and rub it and walk it or whatever it is that you may need or that your pet may be used to. Even though it's not you, in your absence, there is some comfort for someone. And animals can feel the energy. Animals will feel your energy and the energy of those that may take care of them. So that's just something to really keep in mind when looking for someone to look after your pets. Who can you trust? Not just in your own home if you're not able to get back. Not just with your own personal information. Whatever it is that you may have out. Who can you trust that'll take care of your pet? With good intentions, and they, of course, they want to take care of it the best they can. No one is going to replace their owner. No one is going to replace their human that they adopted. But there are people that are pretty close. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, we have a lot to cover. We're coming up to the last commercial break. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture-wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on-the-air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I get farts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around during that brief interruption there, but we had to pay some bills. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. So before the break, this weekend, we've been talking about prepping for our pets and bug-out situations, bug-in situations, how to prepare, what to have. Just some knowledge that often gets overlooked. We sometimes get so immersed in all of our equipment, our gear, our plans and all this, and it's not until the last possible moment that we turn around, look at little Fluffy, and we're like, uh-oh, little Yippy, let's go. And, so we're talking about, some of the things to do, things to plan on, how to plan, how far in advance to prepare, what you would need, and certain things to just prepare for.
And like I always say, not everything is a doomsday apocalypse. If the fit hits the shed, your pet will be ready as long as you're ready, as long as you train them, and as long as you work with them. So beyond food, beyond water, beyond all the stuff that we've been talking about so far today, I do want to get into a couple points. During the break, someone brought up a very interesting thing in a message, and it's they live in a flood area, so there's floodwaters and all this. They're worried that their dog will float away or something in currents and stuff when they have flash floods and all that, mudslides. Well, the biggest thing, I mean, keep your pets close, keep them on a leash, keep that lifeboat ready or whatever it is you have in your preps. And actually, that reminds me of something else I want to mention, too, come to think of it. Boy, we always have such little time and so much to say. But when it comes to flood areas, of course, keeping your food dry, keeping your pet's food dry, having that, stuff like that, which I'm sure you have in place already. But floodwaters, just like they're dangerous to humans, they could be dangerous to your pet. And not just, when it comes to the disaster that they can cause and the power that they have, the momentum and the currents and everything else. But you're going to have a lot of things going on. You're going to have a lot of wildlife that is displaced. And this even includes like dangerous snakes, depending on your area that you live, alligators and all that in certain areas, the country. Your pet should not be left outdoors during crisis like that. They're going to encounter dangerous wildlife. And you don't want that. Sometimes things, they may not normally be in your area. They will show up because they're displaced. If you're someplace dry, when water rises, so will everything in it. Just floats right along with it. Don't drink the water. If it's not safe for you, it's not safe for your pets, which goes all the way around. If you're not going to drink flood water, don't assume your pet can drink it. Sometimes just a little common sense goes quite a way. Anybody have anything else to add? That was a great question. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have anything to add? Feel free to jump on. Send a message, call in, just press 1. And I know some of you really don't want to be on the air. I get that. That's okay. That's fine. You can be prepared for survival. You can be very prepared. Your pet can be prepared. You can work with it, train it, and all that. But even when you're prepared, you may still freak out. Well, your animal will be freaking out too. It may not be that obvious. It may not be noticeable. You may not even realize it. So check in with them every once in a while. Make sure that you stay close. They're comfortable. Or as comfortable as they can be. Like I was saying in the other segment, pets can't really express themselves the way we can. They can't say, I'm not going over there, because of whatever. You don't know what the reason is they don't want to go somewhere. See, having a pet, they're in tune to more than you are. They'll know things are going on. They can see things that you can't see. They can hear things that you can't hear. And they're pretty smart. They know danger, and they know where it's safe. So follow them. Trust in what messages they're sending you. Understand your pet and their mannerisms and how they react to different things. Don't be afraid to create situations for your pets that you see how they react, and you'll be able to read them better. So listen to what they tell you. And, come on, when it comes to the reaction with pets in emergency situations and all that, you may think that they're just going to stay right by you and obey every command and all. No. Don't assume that. Just because they're loyal, just because they're always by your side, just because they are so well behaved and they never leave your side, make sure you have a leash. Because they're not always going to obey every command. And it depends on how often you've worked with them. Now, I'll admit that. You can have 12 cats, and if Magic's one of them, he understands commands. But just don't assume that they will, though. Practice with them. Work with them. Make sure that you understand them. They understand you. There's a bond. There's a trust. And it comes in time. It doesn't come overnight. Just because they know how to sit and fetch a ball does not mean they're like you. They could be very stressed about something. And don't completely ignore it. And even though they may be sitting, they may bolt the first chance they get. You know, they try to stay obedient. They try to obey. They try to obey the command. They try to do that. They're looking for a way out. Understand the language. Understand what they're doing. Especially cats. They're not always going to tell you. But there is animal instinct, and you can't cut it all out. And yes, of course, your pet should be trained to come and sit and stay and be quiet. See, the last thing you want is your dog to give you away or your cat to give you away. Cats are very good at that. Cats are great at that. Cats know when it's time to be quiet. Dogs, they'll all of a sudden jump up, start barking at something that comes near them sometimes. Whereas a cat, they'll just kind of sit there, tuck themselves in somewhere, and not want to be noticed. So, once your animal gets out into the world, everything will be strange to it. So make sure you take it out often. You know, when I started camping with Magic, things like smoke from a fire, the sound of guns, that was a big thing. And that took some getting over. And we worked small. We started with just, a BB gun hitting a cardboard target inside. I'd sit at one end of the room. He'd be napping. I'd sit there. He'd cuddle up with it. He'd look at it and all that. And then just start pink, pink, pink. So they kind of get used to it. That's what Daddy's doing. That's what that does. They see it. They start associating things. And then, you move up from there. Now, of course, we're not going to fire a Glock in the house. But, yeah, he'd come out in the country. Brought him out with me. And he was running around with my friend's dog, playing. And we were just firing guns, and the dog was fine with it. Magic was a little hesitant at first. It freaked him out. He was like, what? Bang. Right to Daddy. And I'm like, okay, that's a good thing. That's good. But then it was like, no, now you stop that. Don't do that again. I don't like that. So, getting them used to certain sounds. And especially if you have like a bug out spot, make sure that they're familiar with it. Let them wander around. Let them get familiar with it. Let them figure out what that environment is. It's brand new to them. You may have done a lot of recon there and selected that spot because it works for your plan. Make sure that your pet's used to it too. So, a lot to think about there. Now, of course, when it comes to, I'm just going to go through some questions. Train your animals. Yeah, well, it's just Magic. He's a kitty, and this is a question about training them. Now, there's two other questions. Yes, I'm going to get to the one about MREs and the worm medicine. So I'm going to get to that one too. So if you're listening, don't think I just ignored those questions, but I will answer those. But since we're on the topic of training, how do I train my cat? What did I teach him to do? Simple things like come and stay. Or how do you get him to do simple things like come and stay on command? Given a cat, they seem to have the mind of its own, and they pretty much do what they want. Well, yes and no. And like I said, it comes in time. It comes in working with them often. Getting them familiar with when you grab your bug out bag, they react a certain way. Training them to do that reaction. In the fire safety episode I did a few weeks back, a couple episodes ago, that was when I was talking about training with the smoke detectors, where what it does, it goes in the bathtub. It goes to a certain area. Depending on where I'm going, that's what they do. It's a certain thing that over years of training that we've done. Things like another good one that comes with training is a cat. Funny, useless. A useless animal, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I have a dog, and my dog will protect me, and okay, great. You have a dog that protects you. Most dogs will protect their human. Cats will also do that too. Cats will alert you to things that you don't even see, like I was saying. And now, as far as when it comes to training and certain things that I've done with magic over the years, comes to personal protection, self-defense, and all that. We have certain commands. Little clicks and chirps that we do. Each combination of clicks, chirps, and the way it's done means something else. So I can do like a sound, and he will sit right there and watch whatever I want him to watch. He will also guard, meaning I could put my bag down and he will sit there by that bag and not move until I tell him to move or it's okay to move, or give him a command that tells him to move some other way. We've run drills with friends that I've met, coworkers and all that have never met him before. And we have self-defense commands that we use for each other, and things that I don't even need to give a command for. I could load a blank in a gun, and it's fired and I hit the ground. He knows exactly what to do. 3 different things, 3 different possibilities, depending on what the scenario is. On leash, off leash, in home. So that's kind of different things that we've trained and practiced. So, even something as simple as a combat situation, a mugging, something. If I'm with him, now one of the tricks that we do have set up between us, he is in a harness, on a leash. He can slip that leash, and he only will do it on command. Or after warning me multiple times that there's danger, and he's trying to get me away from that area or move into a safer place, will he actually finally give me one last, grunt with a meow, and he's out of that leash. That's his last warning. Come now, or boom, I'm moving. If I can't get your rear end out of the danger that I'm telling you is here, I'm going. And he won't go far. But he'll take a position, he'll duck, he'll cover, he'll do the whole thing. He's good like that. And he will do it. Some of the other things that we do when it comes to the, some of the self-defense training and stuff. And yeah, hey, dogs are great. They're, depending on the size of the dog, they're a very powerful animal. So that's great. Train your dogs. But no one expects it from a cat. And that's my trick. That's my secret weapon if I'm out with him. So another cool thing that we do, he could slip a leash, on command. One of the commands that I'll give him is slip the leash, run around the person in a confrontation, and then they think that, they just scared the cat, and now they're going to get me. No, he's already on his doubled back behind him and will attack. With 1 or 2 commands. Depending on the first command, he will either slip that leash within a split second and be around attacking from behind, or slip that leash in a split second, go around and wait in position for the cue to attack. Many of you may not believe this. If you run into any member of my family or some close friends of mine, they have seen this. And there was an issue, a home invader. I had no idea what was going on. I was in completely another room, door closed, and a TV on. Magic, boom, on bed. Look, this is going on. Come here. I'm going to show you something with his signals. I'm showing you something, Daddy. Nope, bring this with you. Bring this gun with you. Bring this with you. You need this. You need this flashlight. Come on, let's go. Didn't hear anything. Wasn't really late at night. Turns out it was someone that must have been walking around the neighborhood, got drunk after a party, walked into the wrong house. No harm. But I wanted to startle them and chase them out. I gave him the command. He tore after them. That guy ran through a door, the screen door, over a rail. You wouldn't believe it. I gave him the command. Chased him down the block. And then came back. Okay, Daddy, I did good. Can we go to bed now? True story. So those two different commands there when it comes to when he slips his leash. And then off leash, at home, and all that. Now, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of patience, especially when dealing with a cat. As far as the kitty MREs I want to talk to you about. Yes, that's a great question, of course. Kitty MREs. Now, there's a couple ways I do it, and you can do this for dogs, too. Not too familiar with what kind of food is available on the market when it comes to wet food that's in a package, sealed in a package that you buy in a store that way when it comes to dog food. But with MREs for the kitty, and there's a video on Facebook about this. So check out the Facebook page and look at the MREs for your cat or MREs for your pet. Three things. It's dry food, a couple kitty treats, and some sort of wet food. Now, not canned. Can't carry canned food. I use the pouches. Whiskeys makes them, and also Fancy Feast makes these things called broths or brothers or whatever. And it's a meal, and I like the broths, the brother stuff that Fancy Feast makes. And I'm not getting paid to say this. I'm just throwing it out there. I normally don't mention brands on the program, but it's very helpful in this case. So if you're looking to do this, you need a vacuum sealer, a big vacuum sealer bag. Make a couple little bags to put the kitty treats in. Earlier on in the show, I was talking about storing dry food in serving size portions or whatever, or break down a whole day's diet of the dry food into separate compartments in a bag. This way you only open up a little bit at a time and serve it. Great to keep the animals away, stuff like that. You don't want to have open food laying around. It just attracts bugs if you're out, wilderness, camping even, stuff like that. Break it down. And watch the video on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. That'll give you a lot more insight on it. Then each meal is just kind of put in a vacuum seal bag and sealed up one day at a time. That's all it is. Let's see. Yes, great question. Medicine for your pet. Online, finding them online, eBay. I find great deals on eBay. They have great deals. I can get pretty much anything non-prescription. Now, here's the thing. You're ordering from China. You're ordering from Mexico. I get that. Not safe for humans. Not safe for your pet. You may find some really good deals. I see it. I see that. Okay, you shopped around. You went to U.S. vet online vets and all that. You've been to Petco, PetSmart, PetMeds, whatever it is, .com or .wolf, whatever. And yeah, it's a lot cheaper ordering it from China. But you really don't know what's in there. You don't know the shelf life. You don't know how far past expiration it is, unless you read Chinese on half the labels. Not a trusted source at all. Not something I would risk my life with or my pet's life with. I mentioned stuff when it came to those online sites for medications, when it came to the first aid episode. We were talking about prepping, building your first aid kit, having extra meds. I probably spoke about it again in a past episode when it just came to just creating your plan and having stuff, assessing your home. What do you have in your home to start? So I'm sure that I said this maybe not just once or twice, but I'm saying it again now. Don't bother with those medicines that you get through eBay, unless it's a reputable store within the U.S. that is an actual veterinary medicine, a pet vet, pet pharmacy, that does ship within the U.S., and that's what they're known for. That's fine. Canada, okay, that's fine. I don't know why you want to import stuff anyway. And I get it. Things are a lot cheaper to ship into the U.S. from China, probably Mexico even, and all that. And buyer beware. At your own risk. I don't recommend it at all. So again, you do want to be careful. Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production.